Hello, good people. This is your guy, Mr. Educator, Mr. Communicator, Mr. Free Thinker, coming back at you live once again from the Lone Star State with another edition of the Media Mike Speaks. So, this story was brought to me by one of my subscribers who asked me to give my thoughts on the George Floyd sentencing, because I noticed that there weren't a lot of press coverage. I don't know. People say, well, the people got what they wanted, so it's okay. But now I'm seeing just a few YouTube channels doing or covering the story. Just a few, one, maybe two. But anyway, so let's get to this, and I will give you my thoughts after we cover a little bit about the case and the story. So Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer, has been sentenced to 22 and a half years in prison for the murder of George Floyd, whose killing outraged millions across the country and reignited a nationwide movement against police brutality and racial injustice. Judge Peter Cahill of the Hennepin County District Court handed down the sentence, which fell short of prosecutors' request of 30 years in prison. Now, people said that, well, even his brother said that, we'll talk about that, he should have got more time. Well, the judge stated that this sentence request surpassed the state sentencing guidelines of 12 and a half years because Chauvin abused a position of trust and authority, on a quote here, and displayed a particular cruelty toward Floyd. Now, Floyd's sister Bridget applauded the sentence, saying it showed matters of police brutality are finally being taken seriously, unquote, which I do agree. Now, a lot of people were wondering about the sentence. So, as far as why didn't he get first degree? So, I did do a video on the verdict, and I will put that link in the description box below. So, in April, Chauvin was convicted of second-degree murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter. Chauvin has been held at the state's only maximum security prison. Hours before the hearing, the judge denied Chauvin's motion for a new trial, saying his attorney failed to prove abuses from the court as well as prosecutorial or juror misconduct. The graphic video of the March 2020 arrest showed Chauvin, who is white, kneeling on the neck of Floyd, who is black, for more than 9 minutes. 3 other former officers involved in Floyd's fatal arrest also face state and federal charges, and those federal charges most likely are for civil rights violations. Good people. Now, regarding the sentence, some people were saying, well, why didn't they go for first-degree murder? Well, what people may not understand is that, well, the law is based off intent. What was your first initial intentions? Not later on. I don't think the state could prove that Derek Chauvin first initial intent was to commit fatal bodily harm to Mr. Floyd. That's what they had to prove. Did he go in when he arrested him? In his mind, did he set out to do that? That would result in his death. Now, during the cause of him being arrested and placed on the ground, and former Officer Chauvin's knee in Mr. Floyd's back or neck, if he decided at that time, well, I'm going to go ahead and do fatal harm to this man, they had no choice but to look at second-degree murder. Because if he went in one way thinking I'm just going to arrest him, but then changed his mind later and said I'm just going to keep my knee on his neck, that's not first degree murder. So the law is based off your intentions on the first, what you're going in to do, not after you change your mind. It doesn't work like that. And a lot of people don't understand that. I'm just giving my professional opinion here on that. That's usually how the law works. It's your intent. What did you intend to do when you arrived? Well, I intended to try to put him in the car to take him to the station, but he got so belligerent, yada yada, they went to put him on the ground. And then, then later on, about 3 minutes in, I decided to go ahead. Well, the evidence played. That's not first degree murder, because the first initial intention was not to do that type of harm. So I'm hoping people understand that. So anyway, let's continue here. It's hard to put time on death. Now, Sullivan Jones, Floyd's uncle, told CBS News that no amount of time can bring back his nephew. He quoted, "It's hard to put time on death," he said, which I do agree, sir. Jones says he hopes to see future generations step up in terms of racial justice, and that he is proud of people like Darnella Frazier, who filmed Floyd's death with her cell phone last May. I am proud to be black now more than I ever have been in my life, unquote. So I understand, sir. Now, Biden says Chauvin's sentence seems to be appropriate, if he can remember, but anyway. President Joe Biden on Friday responded to Chauvin's prison sentence of 22 and a half years, saying it seems to be appropriate. The House passed the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act in March, which would overhaul qualified immunity, among other reforms. The bill, which has President Biden's support, would overhaul qualified immunity, the legal doctrine that protects police officers from civil lawsuits for constitutional violations. Mr. Biden has expressed his support for the act, but it's unlikely the bill will pass the Senate. So, the officers will continue being protected. That's what it seems. Now, Floyd's family reacts to sentencing. We got justice, but not enough. In a news conference, the family of George Floyd reacted to the sentencing outside of the Hennepin County Government Center. Brandon Williams, Floyd's nephew, and Derek Chauvin's sentencing is not enough, and that's it. It's like a slap in the face to all of us. He goes on, unquote. He goes on to quote, "I won't celebrate this. I won't celebrate it at all." Williams said, "It's funny that we got justice, but not enough justice." Floyd's aunt, Angela Harrison, told CBS News that sentencing is bittersweet. Normally, it usually is. She said the judge was too lenient on Chauvin and that his 22 and a half years was years behind bars. It's not the maximum sentence that she had hoped for. I'm not going to let it steal my spirit and destroy my drive to continue to fight for justice, Harrison said. I understand, ma'am. I understand. Now, as you see here, Chauvin's mother calls for shorter sentence. A lengthy sentence will not serve Derek well. Now, Derek Chauvin's mother, Carolyn, Palenti said her son is a good man and pleaded for a shorter sentence. "When you sentence my son, you will also be sentencing me," Palenti said, unquote. I understand, ma'am. Ma'am, that's your son. Most parents rarely tell the truth about their children, especially to the public. So, but I do understand, but we all know the deal. Everyone saw what they saw. Now, personally, I didn't see any highly televised coverage, as I stated earlier on this. I guess the hype is gone. Now, I don't understand the reason for the George Floyd statue other than to remind police of what not to do, like keep your knee on someone's neck or back for about 9 minutes when they say they can't breathe. My take on the sentence, well appropriate under the law, based on the evidence presented. Now, the opportunity for parole, which I do believe he has a chance for after about 11 years, if I'm not mistaken. Now, the relatives can show up and contest it, but it's up to the board and Mr. Chauvin's behavior while he is incarcerated. Now, I hope this sends a message to those law enforcement officers who commit such nefarious acts. But officers do get sentenced. Now, it might not be the time that totally satisfies the victims or victims' families, but officers do receive charges and are sometimes sentenced. But we still have a long way to go. All right, good people, sad to say, but that's it for today. And remember, if you have a bad day, let's keep our fingers crossed for the police reform bill so that we can hopefully be okay. This is your guy, Mr. Educator, Mr. Communicator, Mr. Free Thinker. Subscribe, share, and like to keep me rocking on the mic.